Hello, I'm Stefano Zakari and I'm going to talk about the sacrament of marriage. Is the sacrament of marriage still relevant today? What does it mean? And analyse the features of the sacrament of marriage. The Christian sacrament of marriage is a deep spiritual union between two people, one male, the other female. I contend that it is no longer fully relevant to a Western progressive society like that which exists in Australia. Conversely, many elements that form part of the sacrament of marriage continue to be relevant today. Despite this, current Christian and secular marriage is discriminatory towards certain groups of society, particularly those who are not in heterosexual relationships. This speech will describe what the matrimonial union is, whilst also providing analysis of what constitutes both Christian and secular marriage in the 21st century. The union that is marriage can be both defined in terms of the law, but also through the sacrament undertaken, particularly in the Christian Catholic Church. Marriage in terms of the law, as stated in the Australian Law Dictionary, is, quote, a socially recognised contract regulated by the Marriage Act of 1961, and defined in Section 5 as, quote, the union of a man and a woman to the exclusion of all others voluntarily entered into for life. This is somewhat reflective of the terms that the Church follows in relation to the idea of marriage. Christian marriage has its roots in biblical literature, which, as Kostenberg and Jones suggest, is established in the writings of Genesis, which provide, quote, the parameters for the Creator's design for marriage. The Bible, particularly in the Genesis creation narrative, indicates that marital union is between two peoples of a differing gender. This is highlighted in the creation of Eve, who provides Adam with companionship, but more so with, quote, a suitable helper. Hence, I am of the opinion that through the works of Kostenberger and Jones, that this implies marital union for the sake of offspring is dependent upon heterosexual relationships. Further to this, Christian marriage is more than a legal contract. Rather, it is a union that is, quote, undertaken with God's blessing. And this blessing in turn strengthens the marital union. More importantly, marriage involves Jesus' guidance, which provides married couples through, quote, the love which Jesus showed us to the point of death and beyond flows into and transforms the love of this man and this woman. Thus, I concur that the religious ideas behind marriage are appropriate, but the opportunities need to be extended to allow people to marry irrespective of their sexual orientation in order for marriage to be relevant to 21st century societies around the world. Marriage is currently no longer fully relevant to society and in turn needs to be changed so that it is reflective to society as a whole. Societies like ours are constructed of diverse peoples, men and women alike, who love each other, be it in a traditional Christian heterosexual marriage or relationship, or a single-gender gay or lesbian relationship. The church, specifically the Christian Catholic Church, in its catechism under the Article 1601, states that marriage is a lifelong partnership between a man and a woman. Hence, this Christian Catholic idea of the marital construct, which in many aspects is similar to the Australian legal definition, is outdated. These rules and laws discriminate against same-sex couples, who too foster many Christian ideals in their relationships. These include being people who love and respect and have in common with each other views, beliefs, and ideas. Also, the ideas of marital conclusion need to be considered. For as Cook and Macy put it, not all marriages, quote, work out. And some, quote, and quote, some, rather, can create unhealthy relationships that are destructive for all involved. Furthermore, statistics can indicate how many marital unions are not permanent. As Cook and Macy suggest, quote, 40% of marriages in the United States end in divorce. Hence, this is indicative that marriages do not mirror what the Church teaches. As previously mentioned, some marriages are not eternal, and the Catholic Church's stance on this is rather inflexible. Marienberg indicates that the spiritual sacramental bond continues to link the couple even if they have broken up for all intents and purposes. This in turn prevents remarriage. Hence, I consider that the Christian Catholic marriage should allow people to remarry, as they no longer live and relate to each other, as I find it hard to think that a spiritual link would continue between the two such people. If the sacrament of marriage and the secular idea of this union are to remain relevant, both Christian churches and national governments need to allow peoples of all sexualities to be married, particularly if Christian ideologies are a rather large part of their life and their spiritual life. Despite this speech recognising that marriage as an agreement and ritual currently has limitations that make it somewhat irrelevant, there are many ideas and concepts within Christian Catholic marriage that are relevant to our society. Cook and Macy highlight the fact that the act of marriage joins two families. More importantly though, the act of bringing together two families through the marriage ritual celebrates and recognises the importance of two people and their close relationship. Hence, this option should not exclude people in single-sex relationships. They too should be able to celebrate their union with their family and friends. The liturgical structure of the Christian marital union, as Cook and Macy details, gives those involved the opportunity to pledge their devotion to their partner. In turn, I believe that this opportunity to pledge love and support should be equally provided to heterosexual and homosexual people alike. Furthermore, the ideas of Cook and Macy highlight that marriage provides the support for the creation and existence of family. Quote, marriage exists for two persons and for the sake of their children. I hold the opinion that marriage is pivotal as a supporting mechanism for family and in turn should be available to same-gender couples irrespective of the pathways that they approach to become parents, as they too form families. I argue that the foundations of Christian Catholic marriage, as well as many of the ideologies around it, are still relevant in today's society. They just need to be extended to accept all peoples. Both the sacrament and the idea of marriage in a legal sense are outdated and need to be changed to reflect the society that they apply to. I am, though, of the opinion that with wider scope, people should continue to follow many of the ideologies that form particularly the religious union of marriage, so that couples are more than just married in a church, but rather they have a spiritual and faithful Christian Catholic identity. Finally, I think that love and parenting do not necessarily have to be bound by spiritual or legal certification to enable these relationships and unions to be long-lasting. Thank you for listening to this speech.